Welcome to another episode of our video series of the philosophical history with contemporary critique.
It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to getting into this one today. I think these issues are, well, they've never been more urgent.
I couldn't agree more. And looking at the stack of material we've got here, it's just fascinating. All of it is centered on this tension between order and chaos, and how our modern age, especially our technology, is just warping it.
That's the core of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's our mission today. We want to look at the really deep philosophical roots, the ancient ideas of cosmos and chaos.
Right.
And then bring that all the way forward to see how these new media technologies are fundamentally changing our reality, how we consume information, even our ability to make decisions. We need to get at the mechanics of these crises we feel all around us.
So let's start right there at the very beginning with the true meaning of chaos. Because the word we use today, chaos, it just means what? A mess, some confusion.
And a messy desk.
Exactly. But the ancient Greek root, chaos, that's something else entirely. It's much more profound.
It is. It speaks to something primordial. Chaos doesn't mean noise. It means to yawn or to open up. It's emptiness, the void that existed before anything had a form.
And that idea of formlessness, it's amazing how it stuck around in our language.
It really is. I mean, think about the word gas.
Yeah.
It comes directly from chaos. A gas is, by definition, something formless, something you can't contain. That's the kind of foundational emptiness we're talking about.
Which only really makes sense when you put it up against its opposite, right? Cosmos.
Exactly. We hear cosmos and we just think the universe, but its original meaning was all about order, arrangement, and this is the crucial part, beauty.
So, cosmetic.
Precisely. It's
Yes.
from the same root. It's about arranging things to create beauty. For the ancients, the universe was inherently beautiful and ordered. What's happened now, especially in the last century, is that the meeting point between us and that ordered world has just crumbled.
So if we can't see the order underneath it all, we can't really appreciate the true horror of genuine chaos. We mistake our own confusion for disorder in the world?
And that confusion is absolutely central to where we are now. Look, think of a bee colony. To someone who knows nothing about bees, it looks like pure chaos.
Total confusion, just a
A
swarm.
random buzzing mess. But if you actually study it, you realize it's this incredibly complex, highly organized, decentralized system. The chaos was just a symptom of the observer's own ignorance.
That's a powerful analogy because the complexity we're dealing with now is so far beyond a beehive.
Oh, orders of magnitude beyond. And when we don't understand these systems, financial markets, global politics, information networks, we just throw our hands up and call it chaos. But the machine is still running, mostly just out of our sight.
Which means we should probably clarify what real chaos is, because it's not a bad day at the office.
No, it's much, much worse. Real chaos is a genuine, long-term systemic failure. Think about some of the reports from the pandemic, where people lost their sense of taste or smell for months, even years.
That's terrifying.
It's a glimpse of true chaos, a fundamental hidden mechanism that connects you to reality breaks. And it's not something you can just fix. The hardware itself is failing.
Which really brings home how fragile the order we take for granted actually is. So if that's the case, we have to look at the biggest, most complex system we've ever built.
The global information network. We have to. The change here is, it's on the scale of the invention of writing.
Yeah.
Or the printing press. What we have now is a scale landslide.
The numbers are just impossible to wrap your head around. I was reading that the amount of video uploaded every day to just a couple of platforms would take a single person 65 years of nonstop watching to get through.
It's not a system anymore, it's an ocean. And what that means is that social media, the internet, it's effectively become the world's central nervous system. It's just in its infancy, but that's what it is.
A central nervous system? I like that. But it's a nervous system with completely new factory settings, isn't it? It's totally upended the old social order.
It has. Think about the old model.
Yeah.
Just a few big TV channels, monolithic media. There was a sense that everyone was listening to the elites, the academics, the big-name journalists, the politicians. They had the microphone.
And they had this delusion almost that everyone is watching me, so what they said mattered immensely.
Well, it was rooted in a real monopoly on attention.
Yeah.
Social media just shattered that monopoly overnight. It put everyone, the expert and the public, on the exact same speaking level, and people took control of their own stories, their own language.
And the language itself changed. It shifted from formal text to just images and video instantly.
Right. But here's the paradox of all this visibility.
A double-edged sword.
That's it. On the one hand, a public figure makes a mistake. Before, it's in the paper for a day. Now, a video of it can be slowed down, analyzed frame by frame, and picked apart by millions of people.
Which creates this huge potential for, I guess, collective self-correction, a feedback loop to make us all more accountable.
The potential is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
But what do we usually do with that power? We use it for shaming, for gossip, for instant character assassination, not for systemic improvement. We've built the most sophisticated tool in history to perform the oldest human ritual, the public lynching.
And that takes us right into the heart of collective intelligence, this whole idea of the wisdom of crowds. It's an old philosophical idea, but it really came back after some big crises, showed how badly small groups of experts can fail.
It did. And the core idea is almost deceptively simple. You take the classic experiment, the jar of candies.
It's jelly beans in a jar, right?
Exactly. You ask a big, diverse crowd to guess how many are inside. Individually, the guesses are all over the map. Some are wildly wrong.
But then you take the average of all those independent guesses.
And the magic happens. The average is almost always shockingly close to the actual number. It's a beautiful demonstration of collective intelligence, but it only works if one crucial condition is met.
And that condition is everything.
It's non-negotiable. The guesses have to be independent. The moment you introduce communication, especially in a viral social media environment, the whole thing just collapses.
So if a few influential people tweet out their guess, say, I think it's 1,200, everyone else starts to anchor to that number.
You've got it. That's the parasitism. That initial guess taints the whole pool. The crowd's final answer becomes dramatically worse than it would have been if they'd all just thought for themselves. The influencer, the opinion leader, they destroy the wisdom.
And the implications for something like democracy are, well, they're huge. If we see things like referendums producing bad outcomes, maybe the problem isn't the crowd. Maybe it's the environment we're asking them to think in.
We have to engineer that environment to foster independent thought, not groupthink. We need to build in ways to encourage dissent, to break up the echo chambers.
Because groupthink, just agreeing because everyone else seems to agree, that's the enemy of real wisdom. You can't just lecture people into being right.
No, you have to fix the architecture of the conversation itself.
And that brings us to, I think, the biggest challenge here. Recognizing that the most important parts of life aren't technical problems. You can't just adjust the architecture.
Right. We're sort of conditioned to think of life as a machine, aren't we? If I just tweak my diet, my finances, my schedule, I'll find happiness.
But life's real chaos, it just resists those little local adjustments, the big existential questions. You know, Camus' question about suicide, or that profound sense of emptiness you can feel in the morning. You can't solve that by tightening a screw.
And while, medication can be absolutely essential for treating distress, it's managing the symptoms. It doesn't answer that core question, how am I supposed to exist in all of this?
Those are the struggles that can't be outsourced to a life hack. They're irreducible.
This goes all the way back to Aristotle, doesn't it? When he talked about eudaimonia, human flourishing, he specifically warned against this kind of relative happiness. And our social media world is a misery machine built on exactly that. It forces you to compare your life not with your neighbor, but with the curated, fake perfection of the entire planet.
Aristotle would say, any happiness you get from external approval likes, followers, fame, is fragile. It's secondary.
He'd go further. He'd say, if you're going to seek appreciation, you should seek it from virtuous people, which means your real commitment has to be to virtue itself. That gives you an internal measure, one that doesn't depend on what's popular this week.
That's a powerful check. If you find yourself wanting praise from people you know are fools, something's broken in your own system.
It is. And this whole contrast between the technical puzzle and the existential void is captured perfectly in that little story from Borges, the one about the two kings and the two labyrinths.
Ah, yes. The Babylonian king builds this incredibly complex, man-made labyrinth. Walls, stairs, doors. It's a technical maze. It's solvable if you're clever enough.
Right, a technical puzzle. But then the Arab king gets his revenge. He doesn't build a more complicated maze. He just takes the other king out into his labyrinth.
The desert.
The desert. The ultimate non-technical labyrinth. No walls, no doors, no solution. You are simply left to perish. The problem isn't navigation, it's existence itself.
And that's the core insight. The biggest questions we face about meaning, virtue, suffering, justice, they're the desert. They can't be reduced to a technical answer, no matter how good our algorithms get.
So we have to bring this all back. Why does any of this matter? Why bother holding on to a belief in truth in an external reality when everything online tells you reality is just a story you create?
Because if it were just a story, we would never meet resistance. We'd never be forced to look at something and say, I was wrong.
That's it. That ability to genuinely change your mind requires a stable external truth to measure yourself against. The friction, the resistance you feel when you're proven wrong, that's the proof that reality exists outside of our heads.
It's the foundation for everything.
It is. And for all the chaos we face, we have this incredible capacity to adapt. We're not just passive victims of technology. We are conscious of our situation. We see, for example, that our currencies are losing faith, and we consciously try to create new things in response.
So that recognition, that awareness of the desert and our ability to respond to it, that's the real reason for optimism.
That's genuine optimism.
Yeah.
Not just wishing, but acknowledging our power to create new forms in the face of chaos.
So we'll leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. If real human progress isn't driven by intellectuals in comfortable rooms, but by shocking, disruptive, non-technical events, by the resistance of the desert, not the solving of a maze, what current crisis, what point of undeniable friction is shaping the future of virtue and collective wisdom for the next generation? Think about that resistance.